ಚಿಡುಬಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಟ ಮನದ ಕನಸೊಂದ ಹಿಂದೆ ಸಮಯ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಡಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಾಹಸ ರಥಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾರಥಿಯಾಗಿ ಮುನ್ನಡೆಸಿದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಾಲಂಗಳ ಕೆಳಗೊಯ್ಯುವ ರೆಕ್ಕೆಯಾಗಿ ಕೂಡಿದೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ಯೋರ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್.
ಹಾಯ್, ಹಲೋ, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಾದ್ಯಂತ ಇರುವ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕನ್ನಡಿಗರಿಗೂ ಕನ್ನಡಾಭಿಮಾನಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ, ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇದೆ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಚ್ಚುಮೆಚ್ಚಿನ RJ ರಮ್ಯಾ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್. ಇವತ್ತಿನ 428ನೇ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬಿಲೀವೇ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ? 428ನೇ ಸಂಚಿಕೆ. ಪ್ರತಿ ಶನಿವಾರ ವಿವಿಧ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಸಾಧಕರನ್ನ, ಅವರ ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ತಂಡ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸತತವಾಗಿ ತಂಡದ ಸದಸ್ಯರಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಬಾಬು, ಗೋವರ್ಧನ್ ಗೌಡ, ರವಿ ಪಾಂಗಲ್, RJಗಳಾದಂತಹ ಪೃಥ್ವಿ, ದೇವದತ್ತ, ದಿಲೀಪ್, ರಮ್ಯಾ, ಅಭಿಜಿತ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ತಾ, ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ. ಬೇರೆಯದಲ್ಲಂತೂ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಚಳಿ. ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಕಾಫಿ ಇಲ್ದೆ ನಂದಂತೂ ಇಂಜಿನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೇ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ವೀಕೆಂಡ್ ಹೇಗ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಮಗ್ ಖಂಡಿತ ಹೇಳಿ. ನಾವು ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈವ್ ಇದೀವಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಕುತೂಹಲ ನಮಗೂ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಈ ಒಂದ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೋ ಆದ ಕೂಡ್ಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ನ ಬರಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಬಟ್ ಇವತ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೇಂಜು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಾಧಕರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟುದ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ. ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು ನಾನು. ಅಂಡ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೊಂದು ಹೆಡ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಶೋ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೆಲುಗು ಮಿಶ್ರಿತ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಬಟ್ ನಂಗೆ ತೆಲುಗು ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಿಶ್ರಿತ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೀವಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಲಿ ಕಂಫರ್ಟಬಲ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಸ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್. ಸೊ ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಂದು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಇಂದು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೋಡೋಣ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಬೀಂಗ್ ಸೆಡ್, ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಥ್ರಿಲ್ಡ್, ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೋಟಿವೇಟೆಡ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗ್ ಕೂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸತೀಶ್ ಗೋಗಿನೇನಿ ಅವರು. ಸತೀಶ್ ಇವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಹೀಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೇಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಹೈದರಾಬಾದ್. ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಮೂಲತಃ ಹೈದರಾಬಾದ್ ಅವರಾಗಿದ್ರು ಇವಾಗ ಅವರು ಸ್ಯಾನ್ ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸಿಸ್ಕೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿವಾಸಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರೇನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ಇವ್ರ ಈ ಟೈಟಲ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ರೆಲೆವೆಂಟ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಇವ್ರ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ಗೆ, ಇವ್ರ ಹಾಬಿ ಅಥವಾ ಏನಂತಾರೆ ಹಾಬಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇವ್ರದ್ದು ಅಚೀವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಹಿ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಇನ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್. And he also is a photographer, and he has a combined passion for outdoors and endurance sport. But that being said, he is somebody who ran his first marathon in 2007. Alle ಗೀಳ್ ಹತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. And he started his mountaineering in 2013, not too long ago. But ಏನೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇವರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ, he has ran 14 full marathon. And in spring of 2022, he double summited 2 8,000 meter peaks. Can you believe that? ನಂದಿಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಕಾಫಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಜಿನೇ ಶುರು ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇವ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೌಂಟನಿಯರಿಂಗ್, ಅದು ಡಬಲ್ ಸಮಿಟೆಡ್. ಮೌಂಟ್ ಎವರೆಸ್ಟ್, ದ ಟಾಲೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಅರ್ತ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಮೌಂಟ್ ಹೋತ್ಸೆ. ಸತೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ನೀವು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು. ಇದನ್ನ ಇವರು 4th ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೀಕ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಇದನ್ನ ಇವರು 19 hours ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಹಿಮ್ ದ ಫಾಸ್ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಟು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್. ಬನ್ನಿ, ತಡ ಮಾಡ್ದೇನೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅಂಡ್ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಅವ್ರ ಅಚೀವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸತೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm pretty excited.
We are super thrilled. Oh my God, nange I had written this big intro, but you know, then I am now halfway interested to talk to you and listen to it from you, right? I know we just got to know that you are from Hyderabad, and then but you are now settled in San Francisco. We would love to learn your probably from the beginning, right? So Bengaluru Voice theme is learning not only about your success, but the story behind your success, right? So could you tell us that how it all started and how you got attracted to this side of beauty of life?
So I moved to the States in 2004, and I was playing soccer intramurals when I was in school. I was studying my master's at the University of Louisville. So the intramurals would be like basically like a bunch of Indian kids like playing against like from all parts of the world, right? And I've noticed that like, we were even though we were good at the sport, we lacked endurance, or the speed to like compete with other people from the world. What I would do is like in the evenings I would start running by myself, like about like 3 to 4 kilometers. No, sorry, about 3 to 4 miles every day. I've developed that when I moved to DC. I ran into a guy who ran his marathon. I think this is 2006, right? And then all my friends were like gushing about him. So I didn't understand what the marathon was or what it would take to run one. But then this guy has written his experience as to like how he ran the marathon. And what interested me was the last like 8 miles of his marathon, where he talked about like the pain cave, he talked about the suffering and how he was able to overcome that, and the lessons that taught him. So, and I was curious if I could ever, I just wanted to experience that, I guess. So I started, so I reached out to him and asked him if I could run with him. I think the first weekend we ran like eight miles, and he said, "Dude, you're pretty good at it. You should think about like running a half marathon and full marathon." And so I continued running with him for like 2 or 3 months after that. But I didn't sign up for any races. I moved to LA. I didn't have any friends, and then I thought like probably that's a good time for me to like invest into what I started back in DC, and I signed up for the first marathon. I was raising funds for APLA, so that's an organization that raises funds for like AIDS preventive, or like more research towards AIDS. And I was forced to. I mean, I was running it, but then also was also distracted. But one of my managers at work, she was a VP of operations. So I don't know if I would have completed running the marathon, but then she came to my desk, like I think 2 weeks before, and everybody at work were like scared of her. And then she said, "I heard you're running a marathon." And she said, and I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I'm going to come run you the second half of the race." At that point, right, I think I was like committed, even though I didn't want to commit it. And so that's just how I ran my first marathon. And after I ran my first marathon, she said, "You run I want you to be running with me every Saturday in the mornings." She has a group of people that she runs with. I thought it was one and done. I just want to like check that box of running a marathon. I thought I was done with it. But then she made sure that like I run with her every Saturday after that. And then like once they started running, they started including me in the races that they've been signing up for. And then that just kept me going from that first marathon on to run like 14 marathons. Obviously, like there was a point where I truly enjoyed just running that endurance like in the races. And then the hype from running, and then how it has impacted my life, and what it brought into my life. So I think it has become I would say like an addiction at that point, where I would run a marathon every 2 or 3 every year until 2014.
Oh my God. The only thing I do with respect to running is just running away from my sorrows or from my bosses. Huh? You are running with your bosses, and then you are truly one of a kind. I think I'm understanding the yesterday and day before when I spoke to you, I'm like it's a different feeling, and then now you're telling all this. But what an amazing, probably I think we draw inspiration from different things, right? Clearly you drew inspiration from somebody who did it before, and then you adapted it, now it became a way of your life. That's something which is truly, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying like it was more of a curiosity as to like understand what it would, if I could do it. So I think that's what propelled me towards signing up for it. But then there was a point where I did it, and then I enjoyed it to the point it became a lifestyle.
Yeah, now that you know how wonderful it is, you got to do more and more. One marathon, not enough, maybe one more, led you to 14, and then maybe many more to come, right? How I think
Sorry, go ahead.
no,
No, I was
please,
going to say that it also introduced me to travel. when I moved, I traveled quite a bit in India with my family. But then when I moved to the States, I would sign up races like all parts of the country. I've run races all, in Tokyo. I've run races in Berlin. So it also gave me an opportunity to travel to these places and run races over there. And also increase my curiosity of to see the world around me. So it's just not one. I mean, it introduced me to so many other elements of in that I truly enjoy today. So yeah, it's just not just running. It's just the whole ecosystem around it. Yeah.
I know I think it's a great segue for my next question around traveling and understanding probably different temperaments and different people, right? So you said it has given you avenues to travel quite a lot, and it has helped you understand and the ecosystem around it. So what certain things you have seen probably when you run in different countries or different terrains, have you experienced that you need to train differently, or you have seen the fellow runners, do they inspire you when you run? What are some of the things that usually affect you, maybe during the preparation phase and on the day of running? What are some things which is you have noticed that it could influence your run or quality of your run?
Um, Not very much. Most of the marathons have been road marathons. Um, but I think it just, I think running in the US, I've run mostly wherever I lived. Let's say LA, I lived for almost a decade. So I ran 4 or 5 of LA marathons. I lived in Louisville. So I went back at some point and then ran the Derby Marathon. I think what changes is the humidity. I would say, when you look at the East Coast versus the West Coast, what changes is when you run in the East Coast, it's more humid than the West Coast, where it could be hot, like when I was running in LA. I ran in the rain, just 4 hours of just pouring rain. I ran in the rain, and it just I think yeah. I don't want to segue yet into more. Then it's again just the days I would see in Polar, where it would be one day would be a sunny day, one day would be a whiteout day, one day would be a low, So you experience that, when I ran in in Berlin, it's a little bit more colder than what would be in LA or in San Francisco, and then Tokyo was extremely hot. Besides the temperature, the terrains are pretty much I would say it got easier as I moved out of the US. Yeah. I think the joy of running these races elsewhere is to you get to explore. You're running 26.2 miles, almost 42 kilometers, right? So you get to experience different cities. You get to see them in a very unique way than you would as a traveler.
I know. I think this is something I'm getting inspired on the show. I think you would see me saying, "Hey, I've seen you somewhere," and then I'm just running running next to you. But this is amazing. I think you did touch a little bit, so that's going to be my follow-up question to you. You did say that, so the temperature changes is the only change you will see, just like in the polars. So I would love to hear more about that. So you started, okay, we understand now your journey of, starting it as a marathon runner. But how did it get converted into your mountaineering expeditions, and then especially doing those 8,000 meter summits? What inspired you to do that? And some questions around that I would love to know.
Yeah. Yeah. To just to mountaineering, just I feel running and came to me in the sense just because I was curious, but then mountaineering was something that just fell onto my lap in the sense. A really good friend of mine, he used to live in San Jose. He got the permits to Mount Whitney. Mount Whitney is the tallest peak in the lower 48 states. And I just didn't know. He just called me one day and he said, "Hey, dude, I have this permits to go for backpacking." He called it a backpacking trip. He said, we're going to go on a backpacking trip. It's going to be a fun time. We can all hang out, have some drinks and go climb it. And he wasn't as active as I am. So I thought, if he thinks he can do it, then I can definitely do it. I think I ran close to 10 marathons at that point, right? So I was like, okay, sure, let's do this. But my mom passed away in 2011, And then it was also like a weird point in my life too, where running has given me so much. It's one of those activities that just gives me so much joy. It also like it's something that like where I make a lot of my I would say like it's my time in the sense like when I'm running, I'm thinking about the things that are important for me, what I would do on a certain day, or like what's bothering me. And I would always like feel like running has helped me to like make just good decisions, or like has helped me to put together a plan for the day, or like how to tackle a certain situation. I lost my mom, pretty early. I think I was like in my 28, I believe. And then, so it's like, something that it happened so suddenly, then it like, took over my life for a couple of years after 2011 to almost like 2013. So I was still like struggling. And then I thought these are things that running usually like solves for me. Like, in the sense like, if there was something that was bothering me, it's something that I could go for a run, and then I would think, it used to clear my head. Then like my loss of my mom was something that I could not overcome, and then I didn't have access to therapy or such back then. So mountaineering was like one of my first experiences when I got to be, it's my first hiking trip per se, like that's just the first hiking trip I've ever been on. Like in just being between that was in the Sierra Nevada mountains, so very beautiful mountain range. And then especially around where I was, around Lone Pine, it's actually very famous for photographers. They come from all over the world actually to shoot those mountains, right? So just being there, just inspired me, humbled me, just was amazed at the natural beauty around me. And then I think the suffering of like climbing, I've never been at altitude prior to that trip. And I was trying to like climb up to 14,500 feet, which is like the tallest point in America, right? At that point, without knowing actually. So I think, along the way, we weren't talking anymore. I think the first 2 hours we were talking to each other, but then when we were trying to like catch up our breath, we couldn't no longer talk. And I think it pushed me into a zone where I was able to like, connect to my inner feelings. And then I think the suffering, and then a little bit of, I was able to like process my emotions a lot more clearer while I was there. So I think it was difficult. It was extremely difficult actually. I felt like I was running 2 marathons at the same time because that's how my heart was beating. But then again, I think what I enjoyed, I mean, it was a challenge for sure, because in the sense like we didn't have the proper gate, but then we somehow pushed it all the way to the summit, and then I come back and I mean, initially it wasn't a great experience in the sense like it was very miserable and painful. But then again, like also when I went back home, when I was able to like sit back and like process what I've learned from that trip and what it has helped me overcome, mostly the pain and a lot of grief. At least like momentarily, it has shifted that and pain and grief to something else. It felt like I found a way I found like an outlet, where, or I thought I found help to process some of those feelings. So I think that was my first mountaineering trip. Like it was challenging, but then also like I thought like it gave me an avenue to like vent some of my feelings. It gave me that environment where I can process some of my thoughts and feelings and what was hurting me. So the same thing, if you look at it, right, it's like something that marathon has given, just running endurance races have given me in the past, right, to like process like a smaller things. But then like mountaineering was like like a level higher than that. So I think that's what drew me. I think the natural beauty, and then how it has given me an outlet to like process some of my feelings, and how I felt after. And obviously, like like at scaling a peak, you're like almost like scaling your fears and a lot of those inhibitions, right? So that's something that was my first takeaway from that. And then after that, like I moved to San Francisco, and I was like running on along the water, and I found a guy who was like running at the speed that I enjoy running. And then I literally I had no, again, same concept again. It's like I didn't have any friends, so I had to stop this guy in the middle of his run, and I said, dude, I mean, I enjoy running. I enjoy how you are running. Can I? So can we run together? And he said, yeah, sure. I mean, I saw you running too, and I was going to ask you the same question. So we connected, and a week after, he was climbing Mount Shasta, in it's in the border of like California and Oregon. So I said, so can I join you? And he said, yeah, I would love to, And so that's why I climbed Shasta. And so after that, it became like, for me and him, he's from Honduras, and he has another friend who's from Honduras. So we three started like climbing peaks around like, Mount Shasta, Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, and, all over Yosemite. So as more and more I got into it, I started enjoying like the nature. I started enjoying the process of like overcoming, pain and then the challenge. Um, yeah, and that's how it continued all the way until 2018. Um, After 2018, these guys have started like climbing the big mountains in like South America. And so, I was interested in it, but then 2018 was also the year when I went to Denali National Park. So, but at that point, I was like so interested in like, just traveling around US and like, just going to all the national parks. I went to Denali National Park, and I was able to see, this is like Feb, I went there to see the Northern Lights. Um, um, so I saw Denali from like 80 miles away, and I was blown away by how huge it looked, and then all the like other tiny mountains around it. And I think just climbing big mountains came from the thought, or that or the curiosity as to like how it would look like to be on top of Denali and then look around and see the beauty around it. So my goal has always been to like climb Denali. I was a decent photographer at that point, so from the photography point of it, or from the climbing perspective of it, for me it was just Denali. That was the one mountain that I wanted to climb. And so and it's a 6,000-meter mountain, and it requires you to like backpack for like almost like 21 days or so. So that's just how I started training towards. I started training towards like I wanted to go climb Aconcagua in Argentina. It's a 7,000-meter mountain, but a little bit more easier than Denali. Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to bore you guys in details because I want to jump into Polar soon. But then I think, yeah, for me, it was like the goal to climb Denali was what pushed me to start climbing bigger mountains. So I went to Mexico, the meter mountains, and then I climbed Denali. I'll talk about the mountaineering after that, like what made me climb Everest and Lhotse, or Annapurna and Dhaulagiri, some of the dangerous mountains in the world. If you have a question after. But while so the transition to Polar also happened pretty naturally, I would say. I climbed a big mountain in Argentina called Aconcagua. I'm the second Indian to climb it solo. I think maybe because maybe I hashtagged the word solo. As soon as I came back down to Mendoza, the town, it's the nearest town to Aconcagua, which is the tallest peak outside of the Himalayan range in the world, right? When I came over there, I saw on my Instagram feed a lady by name Preet Chandi, who just finished a solo unsupported trek to the South Pole. And the thought just remained in my head as to like, being in Antarctica and skiing for like almost like 55, I think she took 55 days at that point. Being in America for 55 days in solitude, I was just curious as to like how that would feel like. And it's just something that remained at the back of my head, but I didn't really pursue it. But as part of my mountaineering training, so while after Aconcagua, I went back to climb Everest and Lhotse and Annapurna and Dhaulagiri. So as part of my training, I was also like dragging like a tire, and the tire would be like about 150 kilo. Dragging it for probably is most hardest exercise I've ever done. So I know like how hard it is to like drag almost like 100 kilo that Preet Chandi was dragging. So as part of my routines, as part of my training towards mountaineering, every time I would put a harness on to like drag that tire, I would feel myself in her shoes, So I would always like, and when I'm like done dragging that tire, I would always think, can I do what she did? Do I, be in that environment and just, be able to sustain 55 days of extreme polar conditions. So every single time I drag that tire, I would find myself in her shoes. So it's something that attracted me, but then I wasn't ready for it because mountains were something that I was very attracted to. I climbed Annapurna, which is also called, do you have a question?
No, No, I think I'm just because it is so inspiring. I just wanted to add a couple of comments in terms of, how you took inspiration from so emotional to you, so deep, saddening part of your life, and you channeled it to something which is it is like pain to perseverance to passion, and now it is like you have been in that. I think you did make a comment that okay, you did not get a chance to go for therapy at the time. Maybe it's universe way to give you a channel to find solace, and then find how you are exploring and then enjoying and understanding those inner feelings, right? So I think you started touching upon the training piece. I wanted to probably ask the question so that you can add. I know you gave us a good segue from marathon to now to the polar experience. So I have two questions for you in terms of, one, calling it solo or considering doing it solo. How differently do you prepare when you go on solo expeditions? Because especially, I mean, you have an achievement under your belt, which is doing a double summit in a record time. Did you plan for it, or did it just happen? Or in the meantime, how do you have to prepare in terms of how do you have to train for it in order to achieve that? Maybe if you could highlight on those things, it'll be so fascinating. I'm already, so it's goosebumps, it is to hear what you have done. So really, really curious.
Yeah, I know we only have like an hour. That's the reason I was trying to like rush it a little bit. Yeah, and also probably not a good storyteller to like just condense it into like 2 minutes, but I'll try. So like I said, right, I will go back to it, but then I just want to point out that while I was climbing Annapurna, it's the deadliest mountain in the world, in the sense like 100 people climb it, only 60 people come back down. So it has a death rate of about 140%. And I've seen like several accidents happen on Annapurna, and then so again, like it just came back to like mental health for me, in the sense like I was considered to be dead because I used my my inReach to call in for help for somebody who fell into a crevasse, and so it put my family on the edge for almost like 8 to 12 hours. So again, so I that was my segue. I'm going to talk about like a segue into polar, right? I've carried a dead body. I've seen like my tent mate being rescued from 7,800 meters, and then I saw a guy fell into a crevasse and being rescued 3 days after. And so many other things that happened in that mountaineering trip that I just wanted to like take a break away from it. Even before I was going to go, in the last session, in my last training session for climbing Annapurna, I dragged my tire, and then I come back in, and I was talking to my trainer. I think that's when I I think the last training session with the tire is when I decided that I was going to go polar after I climbed the 8,000-meter mountains, like that year. So I come back in and I tell her that, you know what, I think when I finish this, all the mountaineering, like in this year, next year, I think I'm going to go push for polar. She knows how much I hate dragging that tire. And then so she just laughed at it. But then, but I knew at that point that that's going to be my next challenge. So I think that's a segue to polar. And then when I came back, I was training for it. To answer your question, right? I was fortunate enough in the sense like, when I started running marathon in like 2007, there were very many Indians who were running, that full length races. Now I know marathon's a big event in India, but I'm talking about like almost like, maybe like 18 years ago, right? And I think once I caught the addiction of like running races and then traveling all parts of the world to like do these races, I was doing a lot of them solo. So I would travel to like Europe, and I would spend like a week or 2 or a month, and then I go run like the Berlin Marathon. And then traveling to Tokyo, no one else wants to run the marathon. So, and it's also like a lottery system. So I was able to like travel to Tokyo. I spent like 2 weeks over there, and then run the Tokyo Marathon. So what it also, brought into the solo aspect of things. I wasn't scared to like travel to new places and experience life in a different way, and then to run these races and come back, right? So I think that gave me the introduction again. I had a small and misunderstanding with like my climbing partners, the two guys from Honduras, on one of the mountaineering trip. It happens on mountains, but we're all friends now. And then like it challenged me. Like I was seeing them from afar, but they were climbing big mountains in like Mexico and Argentina, and then I didn't have the climbing partners because we had our differences. So it also, but again, like I could not find another partner that I could train with. So but then I also didn't want to quit on mountaineering, so I started doing it by myself. So I was always, I think, in a way, I've always trained myself, or the situations put me in a way that I've always was climbing solo. So yeah, and just a combination of those never scared me. Even when I was trying to do Aconcagua or even Denali, actually, for that point, right? I had a long, and during the pandemic, I broke my hand, and it took me really almost like 3 surgeries to fix a hand. And then as soon as my hand got fixed, like 2 days after, I flew into Colorado to train with my trainer to climb Denali in 2 months, right? And then and the Denali is a big mountain, something some consider that more challenging than climbing Mount Everest. And if they don't permit you to climb like a Denali solo, but had they, I would have loved to climb Denali solo. So that was where I was like my mindset. And after I climbed Denali, somebody on the mountain told me that, and that was the only thing that I wanted to climb. But then somebody on the mountain told me, who just came back from Everest, a really good friend of mine who just called me right before this meeting. He looked at the way I was climbing the mountain and he said, dude, you are meant to climb bigger mountains. And I think that was my segue into like, it just made me dream a little bigger. And then I said, like, if I'm going to go climb Aconcagua solo, because I don't want to be one of those guys who's been pulled up the mountain as they do today, or take any external help.
Who are these people giving you these inspirations? Only recommendations I get is go drink coffee here, go drink idli dosa here, but you are getting inspirations. I think this is just too inspiring for me, Satish ji, in terms of how you are finding again and again. No wonder you chose risk management as your profession, because you're always constantly taking risks. I think God is just putting you in a place where it is just making it so relevant for everything what is currently happening in your life. But hey, I mean, there are so many people who are getting inspired on the show. I really have to give a shout out. Dheeraj is with us. Dheeraj is bravo, Satish. I think we do have Smita Prasad watching us. Firdos is watching us live. Devrat is watching us live. I think every single person is sharing their love and encouragement to your journey. And but at the same time, I think I have to call out on our listeners. So ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೀವಿ. I know Satish ji is finding his escape in mountains and marathons, but if you are looking any escape, so there is a great opportunity Bengaluru Voice team is bringing to you. We are having April 26th Vijay Prakash show. Right? Yes, you heard me right. We do have a Vijay Prakash show. Saturday, April 26th. It's in the Mission City Ballroom, Santa Clara Convention Center. So already we are, the tickets are open. You can get your silver, gold, and platinum tickets. We'll tell you more, but it is time, Satish ji, to take a quick break. So we'll take a break and then come back again and continue the conversation. Because ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಜೀವಾಳ. ಬನ್ನಿ, let's hear about our sponsors and get back.
Finlo Tax, the leading tax consultant in the Bay Area. Prasanna Kumar ಅವರು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇ ಏರಿಯಾದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫೈಲಿಂಗ್, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್, ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್, ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್, ಬುಕ್ ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೀಚ್ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಕುಮಾರ್ at 408-222-0259. ಮೈಸೂರು ಶ್ರೀರಂಗ ಫಾರ್ ಆಲ್ ಯೋರ್ ಆಟೋಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್. 20 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದಲೂ ಬೇರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ವಾಹನದ ಆರೈಕೆಗೆ ಒನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಆಟೋ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್. ಶ್ರೀ ಆಟೋ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಫ್ರೀಮಾಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಅವರ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ 510-996-8404. ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ 510-996-8404. ಅಮೇರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮನೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಈ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ನ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್. ಎಸ್, ರಿಯಲ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟಲ್ಲಿ ಟಾಪ್ ನಾಚ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರೋ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡಿಗರೇ. ಕನ್ನಡದವರೇ ಆದ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಲ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೀ ಈಸ್ ಸೋ ನಾಲೆಜಬಲ್. ನನ್ನ ಪರ್ಸ್ನಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್, ರಿಯಲ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ ಹೌಸ್ ತಗೋಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಬಿ ಇಟ್ ಯೋರ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಮ್ ಆರ್ ಯೋರ್ second or many more. For reach out Girish at 408-420-0646 ಅಥವಾ gbangalore@interroad.com. ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ? ಬಟ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ತಲೆನೋವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಡೋಂಟ್ ವರಿ, ಫಾರ್ ಆಲ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್, ಎಸ್, ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, 401k ರೋಲ್ ಓವರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ರಿಟೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್, ಡೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಎಜುಕೇಷನಲ್ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಫಿನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್, ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಲೈಫ್, ಆಟೋ, ಹೋಮ್, ರೀಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮಾರ್ಗೇಜ್ ಲೋನ್ಸ್, ಯಾವುದೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಎಸ್, ರೀಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಟು ಅನಿಲ್ ಹಾಲಪ್ಪ. ಹೌದು, ಅನಿಲ್ ಹಾಲಪ್ಪ ಅವರ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ನಂಬರ್ 209-380-9858 ಅಥವಾ halappa@primerica.com. ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಬಿಗ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ. ನೀವಿದ್ದೀರಾ ರಮ್ಯಾ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಜೊತೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸತೀಶ್ ಗೋಗಿನೇನಿ ಅವರು. ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಹಸ್ ಡನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೌಂಟೇನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾರಥಾನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಅಚೀವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ಮುಂಚೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಮೈಂಡರ್, ವಿಜಯ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಶೋ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಟಿಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಸೂನ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು. ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಟ್, ಬಟ್ tune into this space or watch out for this more details. But coming back to Satish Gogineni ji, ನಾವು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕೆ. But before we move on from the show, we have a small surprise for you. So ನಮ್ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಕಸಿನ್. So who I think is borderline unofficial ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅತಿಶಯೋಕ್ತಿ ಅಲ್ಲ. So can we have the super favorite cousin on the show, please? Manoj avare, welcome to Bengaluru Voice. Unmute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರ್ಬೋದು.
Hello.
ಸರ್ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಸತೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ. ನಾವು
Long time no see, Satish.
Yes, welcome, Manoj avare, welcome to the show. We were just talking about all the achievements Satish ji has done. So now we want to hear actual story behind the scenes, right? What's your, I mean, you can let the listeners know what's your relationship, and then what are some of the things or fun stories you have with Satish, and which you would love to share with all of us and listeners.
My name is Manoj. As you introduced me, thank you very much, Ramya. And Satish and we are close cousins. Since childhood, since starting the day, I can remember people like mom, dad, brother. Like, I remember him because, that's where I started recognizing people from. Like, we're that close from the get-go. And as a child, from the childhood, as we are growing up, one of our favorite activities is either traveling to his place to spend little holidays, or for them to come to our place to spend some holidays. So we're always in sync together. We are the same grade, same college, and not college, but the same grade of education. So we always used to look each other and grew up like that. We're very close friends, like more than cousins and more than friends. And once we are on this side of the pond, we started growing more like, what you're doing, what I'm doing, and stuff like that. And once he went to West Coast, then he just took off, as he explained his whole story, where he started. So he always inspires us. I mean, whatever he does, he puts 100% into the effort. I mean, he's very committed, and I always look forward to him on what he's doing, and he inspires me. He explains to me what he's doing, and all these stuffs. And after his 6th marathon or 7th marathon, I took up as a he inspired from him, and I ran my first marathon after he inspired me to do it. And I always tell him that I would never, even in a million years, have thought I would run more than 5 kilometers, but because of him, I ran a whole marathon. A one and done, but hopefully to the bigger things. And also he inspires. He just not inspires his colleagues, his friends, but he also inspires his family too. So we all makes us all proud. His his commitment to things. And at this point, I will not be surprised tomorrow he comes and says, "I'm going to do this." I'm not even. I no doubt at all, and that he will be doing, and I won't be surprised whatever he says next that he wants to do.
Oh my God. Thank you so much,
So
Satish ji. You will get your check from Satish ji later. On behalf of Bengaluru, this is one of the kindest cousins we have had on the show. I was hoping you will share some of the, things which, will help us understand the, mystery behind this achiever. But I think,
yeah, I mean, that's what I told you. Is very, very committed. Like, he's like, I don't know what is like exactly what to be using it, but if he thinks about doing something, he's into it. I mean, you can't drag him back, and you can't change his mind. He's like, okay, I'm fixed on this. I'm going to do it. And
we can see that already. I think this is amazing. In Kannada,
I mean, he's not just now.
Sorry, I think it is going choppy. I was just going to say, in Kannada, there is a statement saying, "Hittala gida maddalla" anta. So if there is anything happening in the backyard, we never look at it. We always look for inspiration outside. But you are the opposite. I think your cousin is doing so well. I think you're drawing attention. You're drawing inspiration from him. And Satish ji, great job, huh? I think and not only you're taking entire family and making I think we should have all of you on show after you complete list of marathons you do. But thank you so much, Manoj ji, for coming on.
Yeah, he's one
You
of the
say
reason.
something.
Also, I love Arctic climate too, and because of him, and he introduced me to some places in Norway, which became absolutely my favorite. Now I go more than he goes there. Maybe he's a little bit jealous of that, maybe. So I absolutely love the cold climates, and because of him. And I'm not there at climbing the big mountains, but I do little things that on the Arctic side, which I'm personally proud of. But I nowhere near to what he does. Crossing the Greenland, that's amazing feat. And I didn't even know that people do that until he told me that he's going to do. So to be honest, I don't know that part of it. I know Antarctica, but I don't know the Greenland piece of it. But he put his effort to it. He went to north of Canada. I mean, somewhere in the he spent on the frozen Arctic Ocean for like 2 weeks. He went to northern part of Canada to train. So he it's not like he just goes and do it. He puts his effort to it, and he gives his 100%. He practices, and do it. And I always say that he took 3 months to getting a permit to cross the South Pole. 3 months. He didn't have a single penny 3 months before the expedition, and it's very expensive. So he committed that he wants to do it, and he did it, and he raised friends and family, and a lot of people helped with the sponsors and everything. And I mean, I have seen people who did the same thing, spent years practicing, raising funds, and doing this, but he did everything in 3 months. That's amazing. And even the people who are supporting the organizing said the same thing to me, like, this is one of the quickest turnaround that we have seen from the day that was given a permit to crossing the South Pole. That I'm so proud of him.
This is so awesome. Satish ji, we want to know what you're currently feeling and what you're going to say.
And so, I mean, one of the reasons, exactly why, I want to say this, right? Ever since I started running, a lot of my friends and family have come back to me and said that I inspired them, right? And as I moved on to mountaineering, and as I was reaping the benefits of, of the outdoors, in terms of like mental health, or in terms of just the overall satisfaction of like life, or let's say like overall happiness in life. I've also like, was able to like motivate people to like go outside a bit more. Just being to a lot of these places, like, and then finding myself as the only Indian. One of the things that was also important for me was to like, just representation matters. And I wanted like more and more of my friends and my family who look like me to be outside. And as I kept doing these things, I recognized that I was also like motivating people. I think I would say like the biggest turnaround came to me around 2020, after which I started climbing the big mountains. I had a serious setback in terms of mental health during the pandemic. I found myself lonely, alone, not just back in my house. And then there was a point where I was like questioning, the existence of my life. Even though, I mean, everybody who looks at me always tells me like, you're the life of the party. You're the most active guy that we know. You travel so much. We want your life. But then I always know that there was, I knew that, and behind the screens, I was like suffering with anxiety and depression after my mom passed away. And it's something that I have never really like resolved. It's something that I took, mountaineering and like running and everything else like helped me just calm it, but then it never like I was never able to like understand how to like overcome those like kind of feelings. And then come to the point like during pandemic when I had to like struggle through it by myself within 4 days, like within the four walls. I almost like contemplated suicide like several times, right? And then like, but again, like, I don't think, even though I've done like these amazing things, I still feel like I was like such a coward to like, I mean, I was scared of like, the very thought of like committing suicide. Like to the point that I probably like messaged every single physician friend I have to like ask them what should be, this is what's been going on for the last like, 8-9 years. And I want, and I'm at a point where, I can't think beyond like today, and I need help. And then they've helped me, like, some of them are like a psychiatrist and some of them are general physicians, but then they all like directed me as to like the steps I need to take to get out of, the position I was in. And I did, it did, I went for psychiatric help, I took medication and I took therapy almost for like 8 months after that. And I still go back to it now and then to like, just, whenever I feel like I need help, I go back to therapy. So I think, it all came together to me, not soon after. I would say like, when I would start expressing like what I went through, but then I was never 100% open, because my mom's death was something that was very personal to me, and I couldn't share with my friends that, she committed suicide. So and it continued. I mean, I climbed Everest and Lhotse after that. After climbing Everest and Lhotse, when I came back, I was in a meeting with Sunil, I was sharing my story along with Sunil Gavaskar. And then Sunil Gavaskar was talking about like his second innings, where he talked about like, how after cricket, he's using his platform as, as a cricketer, or his fame, to raise funds for a nonprofit that he was working for. And then he said, like, when you do climb these big mountains, like, just think about like, how you could also make an impact on other people's life. 2 months after that incident, I lost my cousin to suicide. And I think, just like Manoj was pointing out, there were so many people who looked up to me, and then, and have always told me that they're inspired by my runnings and my, my travels and my mountaineering achievements and such. But then but that was one of those moments when like, it all came to me in the sense like, how about I start? And I felt like I could not have done anything, even though my mom asked me for help and I didn't know how to help her, when she was struggling with mental health. I thought like, had I been more vocal about like my own mental health issues and how I was able to overcome that, I could have helped my cousin. So I think that was a trigger point, like, yeah, so I think it almost became a responsibility for me to not only share, my fun stuff as in like the climbing mountains and such, but also talk about like my mental health struggles and talk about, and put things in perspective too. So that's when I started like, adventuring. That's still like, it's something that's I'm passionate about, but also like wanted to like build that platform as an adventure to like exactly do what we're doing today, to have this opportunity to like share my story. There's amazing things I've done. I feel like I'm extremely proud of like all the marathons I've run, how I've run them. I'm extremely proud of like all the mountains that I've climbed. But I think I'm more proud of the work that I've done in the last 2 years. Where Well, I'm talking more about not only my passion for like these big mountains and these extreme adventures, but I'm also like talking about like mental health and how we can overcome those struggles. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and that's exactly like what motivates me. I mean, to go and just do bigger things. You know, yeah. So
So heartwarming, Satish ji. I think you're explaining it. You're explaining it like a champ, I must say, because I think it's never easy to talk about these things, right? Many people do not talk about these things for a reason, because it is be it for getting tagged as somebody who is this is a story. Nobody wants to share this side, but I'm so proud of everything you have done, and as a part of Bangalore Voice family, we are so proud of you. And then you always have us by your side, cheering, rain or shine. I think we are gonna be with you, and we are so happy that we this is the platform we are able to share it to the world, right? But you said that there are many people you were able to speak, or many people you were not able to speak, but at the same time we were able to speak to some of your friends to bring them on the show. I have Hemchand, and I also have Nipun. So can you both please turn on your camera, and Bengaluru Voice welcomes you. Welcome to the show.
Hey Zagi, hey
Hey,
Ramya, thanks for having us.
Satish,
Thank you
Nipon.
so much. I know. I mean, this conversation is going so good, Satish ji. I think we should schedule a follow up. It always feels like it for me when the conversation is going. But I know I had to call both of them together. Any both of you quickly. I hate to do this and wrap it up, but if you could share some quick stories, I know how you both are related to Satish, and then also some fun stories and thoughts on what he's currently doing. That would be great for our listeners. Take it away.
Yeah,
Sure,
Nipon, I'm going to introduce myself, then you can introduce and tell a fun story, then you give back to me, right?
sure.
So I know Satish from Masters. He came to do Masters in Louisville. I'm sure you heard about it, right? I've known him for about 20 plus years. That's me, I'm Hemchan. So Nipon, back to you, or to you, I guess.
Yeah, I've had the misfortune of knowing Satish for about 25 years, and he's tolerated me as a friend for 25 years now, though I feel I may be nearing the limits of his tolerance. I'll just go, Hemchand. I'll just say my piece, and then you can say whatever you want. I met I know Satish from undergrad, and I think Hemchand knows him from masters. I met Satish in college in Pune in 1999, and I immediately knew Satish was destined for great things. I'm just kidding. I didn't think he would last a year. I thought he would become like an MLA for the Telugu Desam party, and I still think that might be his future. But I think Satish showed great resilience in copying for my papers, and he graduated, and he moved to the US. And then I think in US he saw this movie that changed his life. I think it's called Forrest Gump. I think really identified with the character and started running marathons. Because when I reconnected with him in like 2008, he was like a marathon running machine. Without the machine part, he used to basically eat junk food and had a strong sense of denial. The man still eats. I don't know if he still eats. Probably eats healthy, more junk food than anyone I know. This is all fine, but for some reason he asked me to run marathons with him as well, which was a problem for me because I never really liked running, and I ended up running a couple of races with him, uh, and I never got the point of running. And I would ask Satish what the point of running is and what is he running away from, and I never got a good answer. And I knew I had to do something, so I introduced Satish to the hiking and backpacking trip to Mount Whitney in 2011. And oh God, do I regret that decision? And that's just not because of all the turds that he left back in the Mount Whitney National Park instead of hauling it back home. But Satish really took to mountaineering and has never really took back since. I remember when I first met Satish in US in 2008, we were talking in the Death Valley National Park, and I was talking to him about, how I struggle with depression a little bit. And at that time, Satish was this fresh, Chad grad from University of Louisville, living the Greek life, and he couldn't relate to it too much. But from there, Satish has now grown to a person who's an inspiration to us all in this field. And he's been a great example on how to take one's internal grief and sadness and depression, and to not let it overwhelm you and to channel into something productive outside. Acting not just as a beacon to other people out there, especially Indians, but also raising depression awareness around depression and sadness. And I think that's a great example that he's setting, and shows the extent to which he's grown as an individual. He's like a superhero, minus the superpowers, the good looks, or the humility. He's clearly insane, but in a way that I deeply respect. He's accomplished things most people only dream of or have nightmares about. I'm not entirely sure. All I want Satish to promise me is that the next thing he books would be a nice, all-inclusive resort visit on some nice beach. But knowing him, it's probably going to be on the side of an active volcano. So, anyway, yeah, that's my
Amazing.
prediction.
Thank you so much. I think you brought different flavors to Satish ji, which we were craving for, right? So, anything you want to say, Satish ji, on the copying part and eating the junk part, and how you how you would like to respond to that?
Oh, I admit it.
He
No,
pleads guilty.
so his last name was Goel, Goel, and I was Gogineni. So he has the misfortune of sitting right in front of me and also being my best friend. So I would like blackmail him, like, dude, do you want to go into second year and like me stay back in like first year? And you should know that Nipun was like a university topper. It's one of the hardest. Like, he was a Pune University topper the first year. So I'm just fortunate to have him as an amazing friend and a mentor, and somebody who has introduced me to mountaineering. So I'm extremely proud of like the circle of friends I have around me, even the family, right? I mean, Manoj and Dheeraj and my brother, and yeah, see, I love the hearts around Nipun. Yeah, no, yeah, no, I'm thankful for their friendship and everything that they've introduced me to. Yeah.
That's so amazing. Thank you, Nipunji. Yes. So, Hemji, we would love to hear some more things.
Yes, I'll try to keep it short because we're running on time, right?
Thank you.
So I think Nipun just gave us the answer, the inspiration for running. I think just eating junk food and eating junk food, right? So you just want to eat more. That's what I do, right? If you want to eat more, I run or exercise, right? That's the thing. So then I think I'm just going to give a small story about the determination he has, right? He meaning Satish. Me, Nipun, and Satish went skiing to one of the mountains in Lake Tahoe, right? So at that time I was little better than him in the skiing. So when you think about skiing, you need to come down the mountain with parallel skis, right, to make S turns. And Satish just picked up like a week or so ago. I mean, he was good at that time as well. But I told him, me being cautious, I told him, hey, I'm gonna go there on one road which is a bit more steeper, so don't follow me, because I tell him you're gonna get hurt, or I don't want to get hurt, and he says no, I'm gonna. And then I just went down, and then I turned back and he's just right now following me. He's just determined to do things right, like, oh, how do I get better if I don't try? How do I get better if I don't fail? So that's the determination he has on doing things to get better, right? So that's one story. I don't know if you have time or no. Um,
No, that's amazing. I think we will have after the show discussion also to learn more. But yes, I mean, this is so amazing. I'm understanding it as a theme. He will never take no for an answer, right?
exactly.
So that is something which we all take inspiration from. We will take no, not no for an answer, never, right? We will always do. We are determined, and then we'll be doing it. So thanks to both of you, Nipunji and Hemji. So we will continue the conversation. We love having you on the show, and then we will continue the conversation with Satish ji. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ramya. All the best, Satish.
Thank you. Any I know we were talking about, a little bit about Project Spandana, how you wanted to create a platform for everybody who is probably suffering from same thing. Anything you would want to take from your friends said, and then you would like to connect it to Spandana, that will be wonderful for our listeners.
I'm just going to put it simple, right? Because it took me a long time to understand this, and I want our listeners to also understand this. Mental health problems define who you are. It's just an experience you're going through, right? And just like, we go in the sun, we feel the sun, but we're not the sun, right? So I just want people to understand that, like, whatever you're going through is not like it's not defined like in a mental, you could get help and you can get over these things. So and it's also very important to, like, just be aware of like our hidden feelings or emotions, and such. because if you don't take care of them when they, when they pop up, or if you neglect it, it'll come to the point where you start believing that you are them, right? So, I mean, I know Nipun talked about it. I don't even remember him actually talking about his mental health. And it's something, that concept that I didn't never understood it, even after my mom passed away. She would call me in the middle of the day, like, 2 o'clock or and 3 o'clock my time while I'm at work. Or she would call me in the middle of the night, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and she would say like, "Manasu bagaletu," like in the sense like, she can't. It's not. There's nothing physically that's hurting her. It's just, she was struggling mentally, right? And to experience that, I was almost like 8,000 miles away, and I think I struggled with it too, because like, just being the son, not being able to help, not being able to understand what she was going through, and then seeing her cry on the other side of, the phone, was, it just pushed me into, into, yeah, I've had really rough time, I would say, for almost like, I would say like 2 or 3 years before she passed away, and then almost like a decade after she passed away. I'm doing pretty good right now. I mean, I've taken a lot of help, and I still take help. Um, and I think that's, and I'm actually reaping the benefits of it, in the sense like, my experiences in life, I don't take them in a negative light. In the sense like, I've learned to overcome, and I think my sports, like, be it my marathon running or my mountaineering, have helped me overcome, these challenges that are presented to me. And I feel good as where I am right now, and I want my friends, or anybody who's listening to also understand that, like, most of these things are temporary. You can get a lot of help outside. Yeah, and I think just my own experience, just growing up in a family where, my mom was, not 100% all the time. She is the strongest woman I know. Like, honestly, like, she and Spandana, you can ask any of our friends and family, then they would all say the same thing. Like, the amount of work that these guys would do, it's insane. Like, my mom, I was born when she was 20, and she started working at 21, and she didn't stop until the day she died. And in general, like, I'm talking about, like, the other thing I want to point, and the reason that I bring it up is because, like, people have this conception or misconception that, weak people commit suicide. No, like, strongest of the people commit suicide, in the sense like, I could not do it. Like, like, and despite me doing all these amazing things in the world, when the thought of like suicide came to me, I freaked out and I ran to the doctors, right? And also because of the fact that, like, I thought I could get help, but then, and also because it was during the pandemic and there was a lot of discussions around like mental health, I could relate to some of those, and like, I reached out for help, right? But then I didn't understand the concept of it before then. Yeah. So yeah, my only advice to the listeners would be to, like, make sure that they always take care of health. I know a lot of Indian families, especially, like, we care for our kids, we care for our surroundings, ecosystem, right? If a mom or a dad, or even the kids, like, if you see that, you are struggling, and don't just ignore it, don't just neglect it, act on it. You're not only, like, disturbing yourself or your mental health, you're also, like, slowly infecting, like, people around you. If you care so much about them, work on it. Then that's basically what I wanted to, like, say today on this platform. I know we're out of time, so I want to give it a shot.
No, I think thank you, Satish ji. This is before I close, I would want all the team members to turn on their camera and join us, because I usually, before I end the show, I request the guests to give a message to our global listeners. I think you already did one from your work, and last but not the least, I think you brought it up so valid point of we not talking about it, especially somebody from our generation, or be it our backgrounds, right? So Indians have this misconception of, hey, we cannot talk about it. I think you did a wonderful job. You created a platform, and most importantly, I think you brought out that side of an achiever also, where people are hesitant to bring out. I think this is more big of an achievement. We love to thank Praveen Koneru ji for introducing Satish ji to Bengaluru Voice family. But I think I'm so humbled, so thrilled, so motivated, all emotions at the same time. And we Bengaluru Voice are so blessed and honored to have you on the show, Satish ji. So as I said, it's like a family for us. I think when a guest comes, we continue the journey with them. We always have this habit of joining their journey, right? Joining the cause. I think we would love to continue that. It is just not a promise on the show, but we would love to continue that. Thank you once again to all the friends and guests who joined us, and everybody who listen to us on our show. ಇದೇ ತರ ನಾವು ಮುಂದಿನ ವಾರ ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬ ಸಾಧಕರನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಸಹಕಾರ ಹೀಗೆ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತಾ, ಸತೀಶ್ ಜಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ತಂಡದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಮುಗಿಸೋಣ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ ಹೀಗೆ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ರಾರಾಜಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್. ಲಿಸನ್.
ಆಲಿಸು ಗೆಳೆಯನ ಹೃದಯದ ಮಾತೊಂದ, ಬಿಚ್ಚಿಡು ಬಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಟ ಮನದ ಕನಸೊಂದ. ಹಿಂದೆ ಸಮಯ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಡಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಸಾಹಸ ರಥಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾರಥಿಯಾಗಿ ಮುನ್ನಡೆಸಿದೆ. ನಿನ್ನ ಬಾನಂಗಳ ಕೆಳೆದೊಯ್ಯುವ ರೆಕ್ಕೆಯಾಗಿ ಕೂಡಿದೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಾಯ್ಸ್, Bengaluru Voice. Listen to your heart.